the March the 5th Town Council. I just called us to order. Okay. The first item of business is the Pledge of Allegiance. Vice Mayor Barbara McRae.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The next item is the approval of the February the 5th Town Board minutes. Everybody had a chance to look that over? If you have, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
All right, second. All in favor? Okay. Have some additions to the agenda for tonight. If there's any other items to be added, let me know. But Mr. Kimsey wants to bring up alcohol at events, and Mr. Culpepper wants to bring up a written Loft House request on Read to Me, and if so approved, the alcohol will become 6K, and Read to Me will become 6L on the agenda. Yes, ma'am.
Could we also add the raised chapel matter that we discussed?
Mr. Mayor, that was entirely for legal purposes, so it was 7B, if you will, please.
The raised chapel, okay.
Also, I think Read to Me is going to present during public comment as opposed to being on the agenda.
Okay, let me see.
If that's okay with you.
Did anyone sign up for
I
public
did.
comment on the? Oh,
Yes.
Okay, good. I got you. Okay. All right. So we'll just scratch the Read to Me as far as being an agenda item. And the raised chapel, you're going to bring that up as an agenda item.
7B.
That would be
7B.
7D. Okay. All right. Any comments or any questions? Yes, sir.
I think we need to add an item to address having a liaison for the fire department and water and sewer moving forward. Because since Patty and Billy are gone, we don't.
I'm not prepared to make that tonight. Would you hold it for next meeting?
Sure.
That kind of caught me out of the blue. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, we can do that. All right. So 7D would be the raised chapel issue. Okay. Anybody else? Anything you want to add or change? If not, I'll entertain the motion to make the alcohol at events 6K and raised chapel will be 7D.
I'll make that motion.
Okay. Second? All in favor? All right. Adopted. Okay, public session. The first person is Ms. Crownover, Sandra Crownover. Welcome, Ms. Crownover. Good to see you tonight.
My eye of the water from this cataract deal.
Let me make one mention. Public comment is limited to 5 minutes. Okay.
They're still buying and selling drugs on Curtis Street. They still have small kids and dogs on all back. No tags, no collars, and they have to run back and forth to the creek to get water. Well, I've seen them do that. They have a generator at the camper trailer, and it makes a hell of a racket every night, and I can't sleep for it. I mean, it's laughing. Like I just got sheer money today. Your curtains, I mean. They're still in power and water from the church. And I bought those things to put on the spigot that you have to have a lock that comes with the thing to keep it from doing it. And Sean was supposed to be here, but he had to be out of town. And he was supposed to give me a letter and pictures of them doing this. So hopefully next time he'll be back. They're still burning wood on those propane logs, and they're on their 4th load of logs since the fire chief gave us citations for doing that. And on February the 21st, at my renter called me a little after 7 in the morning. between 7 and 8. The 4 kids went to St. Peter. I was in the school at 39 Lyle Street. And there was a man walking around the house, and when she looked out the kitchen, to the back porch, through the door, and he was looking through the window. And I called the 524-2020 number, and they sent 2 officers over there. And she said his name was, went to school with him, and said she remembered that his name was Nathan White. So police come, and I asked them 3 times to put him in handcuffs and take him to jail, because he was on my land. And when he went behind, while I was talking, she said he was going behind the brick house, the one that Doc Gibson owns, across from me. And we talked a minute, and he came up the front, and I said, there he is. And they went over, he said that he was harmless. Well, he was stoned out of his head, or he wouldn't have been over there, and he was, we've been back and forth. And they told him on her property, for him not to be back on the property. And when he came back, I said, I didn't call for that property, I called for mine. And that very night, she called, and she was going to work. She worked Happy Day Holland, the doctor, in Happy Day here in the afternoon. And she couldn't work, so she got a friend of hers to come in and take her shift. And she moved out on account of him, and I'm losing $650 a month that I need. And but anyway, I jumped on the police because they wouldn't do what I said. And then there was a man we saw walking down Curtis Street with a shotgun. And I hadn't seen this person up there before. I seen one let out Thursday night after 10 o'clock when I was getting my medicine. I saw him through the kitchen window walk up there, and I seen he was the man. And Courtney said she heard one, that's the one that rents the house and one's moving out, said that she heard one a street or 2 over go off after that. Or he shot somewhere or anything like that. Or she thinks it was me, because I told her that I couldn't see him. And that's basically up to what's going on right now. And we'd like to, and I did want to mention that the house was supposed to be condemned. Do you have any idea you're going to be able to do that?
Yes, ma'am. We do have. If you'd like, we'll have our attorney or someone will contact you about that.
Just for the council's information, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Setzer and I are aware of the situation. He has been applying administrative fines to some land use violations in that general vicinity. I can't speak to the suspicious persons things, but we are aware of it, and we have taken basically all the administrative steps we take so far, and there should be some legal action. Thankfully, I don't know about condemnation. We're looking at more like violations of some other ordinances that don't require, thankfully, minimum housing steps that be coming back to the board and asking for an ordinance and all the hoops we have to jump through and more directly apply for legal action. So that would be in the future for what I presume would be that property.
Well, I know they got $96,000 plus 4 years down in county taxes that they owe.
Well, let me assure you, we're working on it, and I know it seems like it's taking forever, but we have the hoops we have to jump through.
I would like to ask you if this was right in your back door, how long would you put up with it? I've been patient.
I guess as long
and I'm
as...
at the point that my aunt used to say I'm getting impatient.
Yes, ma'am, and I understand. I understand that, and I'm sympathetic with the problem, but we are working on it. Okay. Okay, Raymond Holland?
I'm not speaking, I just don't know.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, you're welcome to, sir.
Same issue.
Okay. All right. Sam Franklin? Welcome, Mr. Franklin.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor and the Town Council for your time and service. I'm addressing essentially the same problem that Sandra has brought out. The West Boulevard and Curtis Street is generally a quiet neighborhood with good neighbors and all that, with 2 glaring exceptions. Number 57 58 West Boulevard and 67 Curtis Street are and have been habitual drug operations. And to some extent, the two are linked. The same people are back and forth between the two places. There are cars. The traffic is virtually constant. In and out, same cars and then other cars. There's a lot of foot traffic. There are a lot of young kids involved. And there are young kids involved with the trailer in the old left-aid house. There's young kids apparently living there. We're talking about, just a guess, like 4-year-old type kids that we see with these people back and forth.
There's a toddler up there too.
I'm sorry?
A toddler?
A toddler, which a 4-year-old would be, I guess you could call a toddler. Law enforcement has been out there any number of times. Back in December, the Sheriff's Department had, I would say conservatively, I'm not exaggerating, probably a dozen cars out there. And they made a raid, call it what you will, and they're out there for some time. And I don't know what happened. I don't know who or if anybody, I presume some were arrested. I don't know the outcomes of that. But I do know that within a short period of time, the activity had picked up. And it's now almost back to normal. And you see the same people living in 58 West Boulevard is a trailer, of course. You see the same people in and out, and apparently still living there. And I assume the same group. There's a lot of people. There's a lot of people involved. But you see it's back and forth. The street traffic is, I won't say constant, but it's supposed to be constant. And I've had people in my yard. I've had my truck broken into. I've had at least one person try to come through the living room window. And when you see the people, they are, as Sandra said, they're out of their minds, wandering around. So anyway, that's about all I can say, I guess. But I just wanted to reiterate what Sandra said and to point out that it's a blight on the town of Franklin. And the fact that there are neighborhoods that probably don't have it doesn't mean that they're not going to. And it doesn't seem to be getting any better. And I'm sure I'm not telling you anything you haven't heard before and so on. But I would just like to make my voice heard and back up Raymond and Sandra. And there are other people in the neighborhoods that would have been here except for other things. So there's a lot of people that are that know about this and want something done about it. So again, thank you very much for your time.
Mr. Franklin, you've been heard, and I'm going to follow up in the morning with some things.
All right. Again, thank
Do you
you.
know if Child Protective Services has been notified of this?
Kathy Collier.
Yes, Chief.
Yeah, we spoke to DSS last week.
Okay, good. Mr. Franklin, thank you, sir. Okay, Diane Cotton. Ms. Cotton. Welcome.
Thanks. Hello, council members. I'm here tonight to talk about Bridgeby a little bit. We have had some business owners on the west side of town approach us about a partnership with maybe organizing to bring a story walk to the west side of town. And that would probably, the best place for that would probably be the JC Park area. I don't know if any of you are familiar with the story walks. We have several in the county already. We have one at Harper Meadows, we have one on the Rotary Loop in Greenway, and one up in Highlands, along the Bascom Greenway. Basically, what the story walk is, it's a children's story book that has activities that the children do with their parents. As they go along, they read the book. They do the little activities that go from board to board to board. It's a way to introduce children to books as well as outdoor activities. Read to Me handles all the fundraising of the project, and while we would not uninvite you to be a sponsor financially, we appreciate the money that you already give us through the nonprofit, and that would, we get outside sponsors mostly for our story walks. The businesses, like I said, on the west side have approached us that they would like to sponsor such a story walk. This year we plan to work with local authors to include them in a story walk, have our own rather than buying a completed book from the company that we usually deal with. Signs Express does our boards, and we've never had any vandalism on any of our story walks, but if that should happen, Signs Express will contract with them to create that, to fix that right away. Another exciting aspect of the story walk is our ongoing partnership with Mainspring Conservation. They've developed locally sourced boards for each of our walks that highlight the natural aspects of Macon County and Franklin. And with Mainspring being such a significant partner in the restoration of the creek that runs through the Memorial Park, we think that this would be a great way to enhance that partnership also. Is there any questions about
Yes, ma'am. We need, if you would, to get with Justin, the town planner, and let's talk about where would be the best location there. I went down and looked at it today myself, and I think we probably need to get our heads together on what would be the most effective placement of it, and get that worked out, and then move from there. If that would be agreeable with you
That's
guys.
fine. We just wanted to bring it to the forefront so we could be thinking about it and start planning in that direction if possible.
Someday when I write my children's book, I hope it'll be included.
We'll keep you in mind.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that.
Mr. Mayor and Council, if you would like, I can work with Mr. Setzer as well and Ms. Cotton and come to go down there, maybe look at some options of where they'd like to place them, and then we can bring this back to the town board at your April agenda with some suggestions.
That's great. We'll look forward. Okay. All right, Mr. Jimbo Ledford. Welcome, sir.
Thank you all for your time tonight. What happened there? I want to start by saying thank you for the way y'all handled yourself this weekend at the retreat. I was very impressed by the way it went. I felt very well represented as a citizen of Franklin, and so I wanted to thank you very much and would encourage you to continue to gel together and work together as a council. Thank you very much for that. I wanted to speak a little bit about the alcohol permit. I hope would encourage any kind of legislature that would work towards an event permit that would allow alcohol consumption on town property on special occasions. The one that would be regulated and smart. I think are economic and social benefits to allowing human beings more freedom to make good decisions. The second thing is the noise permit. I'm working towards opening a venue that would cater towards the after-hours crowd with music and bonfires, midnight movies, things like that. I wonder, is there a clear path for me to obtain a permit that would allow me to make noise like that after the 11 o'clock curfew of the noise ordinance? Those are the two things I wanted to talk about. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. We'll get back to you and let you know on some of that.
Thanks, Bob.
Thank you so much. Okay, that takes care of public comment. You pass that down to the clerk, please. All right, under new business, I have a proclamation for Women's History Month. And so, if the representatives of that will come forward, I will certainly read the proclamation, and y'all can have a picture with our Vice Mayor, who's very involved.
I wanted to say, first of all, real quickly, thank you so much for taking into consideration and honoring women. It's National Women's History Month in the month of March. And so I'm glad that you guys are going to go ahead tonight and sign the proclamation. The commissioners for Macon County will also be signing at their March 13th meeting. And basically, we're just wanting to encourage people to consider doing any kind of program, special activities or whatever, to uplift women in Macon County and in the area. Okay?
Good.
Great. All right, guys, come on.
I will read the proclamation. Whereas American women of every race, class, and ethnic background have made historic contributions to the growth and strength of our nation in countless recorded and unrecorded ways. Whereas American women have played and continue to play critical economic, cultural, and social role in every sphere of the life of the nation by constituting a significant portion of the labor force working inside and outside of the home. Whereas American women have played a unique role throughout the history of the nation by providing the majority of the volunteer labor force of the nation. Whereas American women were particularly important in the establishment of early charitable, philanthropic, and cultural institutions in our nation. Whereas American women of every race, class, and ethnic background served as early leaders in the forefront of every major progressive social change movement. Whereas American women have served our country courageously in the military. Whereas American women have been leaders not only in securing their own rights of suffrage and equal opportunity, but also in the abolitionist movement, the emancipation movement, the industrial labor movement, the civil rights movement, and other movements, especially the peace movement, which create a more fair and just society for all. Whereas, despite these contributions, the role of American women in history has been consistently overlooked and undervalued in the literature, teaching, and study of American history. Whereas each year since 1987, the President, Senate, and House of Representatives of the United States of America has designated March as Women's History Month, and whereas the Women's History Trail Project strives to celebrate the lives of Macon County women and honor their accomplishments while creating a path to let residents and visitors walk in her steps to experience history in a deeper and more personal way and weave together the disparate elements of our history. Native American, white, black, those of all levels of society, those native to this area, those of pioneer stock, and those more recently arrived. The Women's History Trail, a project of the Folk Heritage Association of Macon County, sponsors this proclamation and presents it to official leaders for consideration. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Mayor and Franklin Town Council that March is designated as Women's History Month. We call upon the residents of Franklin to observe March as the Women's History Month with appropriate programs, ceremonies, and activities. All right, do I hear a motion to adopt the resolution as presented? I think you should. All right, okay, I don't even know if I'll let the rest of the board vote on this. All in favor? Okay, all right, ladies. Oh, yeah, man, just like a tiny word on that one.
And none of us would be here without women, too. So.
That part was
And the clerk will attest to it, and y'all will have your copy.
Thank you very much. We appreciate you. I did want to just briefly comment that there are several activities that are going to be going on in Macon County during the month of March. So we'll be getting the word out to the press, and hopefully you guys, we invite you to participate in any and all. Thank you
so much, girls. Okay.
Guys and gals. That's right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right, the next item is a proclamation for 80s Flashback Day. Mr. Dave Lynn. Mr. Lynn, did you want to say anything before I read this proclamation, sir?
Just thank you all and look forward to working with the town and have a successful parade on Main Street on August 4th. And the weekend's going to be a great time, August 3rd, August 4th, and through the night. So I got the guys who will be there proclaiming. So
I'm very impressed with how well they behaved tonight.
I am too. I'm really surprised.
Oh, you gentlemen want to say anything?
Ladies and gentlemen of the board, thank you very much, very much for your support of this event. Mr. Lynn has approached us a few years ago about becoming more involved. As you know, Dave has run this event for a number of years and it directly benefits the Greenville Shriners Hospital for children. He got us involved. We've been steadily working to grow this event. And all praise be to Dave. He has done a fantastic job with this every single year. I have with me this evening, my name is Andrew Orton. I'm the president of Smoky Mountain Shriners this year. Greg Jones, second vice, Leon Ditch, first vice president. We have member-at-large W.H. Derrick and Mark Bryson, our secretary. Those of you that do not know, the Shriners Hospital for Children currently serves over 100 children in Macon County, regardless of their ability to pay. If you do know of a child that could benefit from that service, please let one of us know. We'll be happy to refer them on down. But thank you again for your consideration for this event. Thank you for your support. It does mean a lot. Certainly.
All right, on behalf of the Smoky Mountain Shrine Club, we're writing to request the Town Council proclaim August the 4th, 2018 as 80s. Come on back, guys. I'm going to watch my back with Mr. Cleric, however. 80s Flashback Day is designed to increase public awareness of the services offered by the Greenville Shriners Hospital for Children. The Greenville Shriners Hospital helps over 62 families from the Macon County, Franklin, North Carolina area with free health services or services at low cost. 80s Flashback Day is an annual day hosted in the Franklin, North Carolina area and is designed as a fundraiser for the Greenville Shriners Hospital to help raise awareness and funds the hospital's mission. The Greenville Shriners Hospital for Children has a mission to provide the highest quality care to children with neuromuscular conditions, burn injuries, and other special health care needs within a compassionate, family-centered, and collaborative care environment. Smoky Mountain Shrine Club is participating in this year's 80s Flashback Day by bringing awareness to the citizens of Macon County, North Carolina, Franklin, North Carolina, about the mission of the Greenville Shriners Hospital for Children. In recognition of the growing importance of health services to children's lives with special needs, we ask that the Town Council of Franklin, North Carolina issue a proclamation for 80s Flashback Day. And we would be particularly honored to have you present this proclamation on July the 2nd, 2018, and I would be delighted to do so. Thank you. I'll entertain a motion to adopt the proclamation as presented. Motion and a second. All in favor? All right, that's unanimous. And I'll pass this down, and the town clerk will attest to it, and then you'll have your copy. Okay. Dave, you're going to live there. Thank you guys so much. We appreciate y'all. Okay, the next item of business is with Bonnie Peggs, a street closing request for Making Your Heart Beat 5K. Bonnie, welcome.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Thank you very much. Tom Fortner, who's our Director of Cardiac and Pulmonary Rehab, is with me. He's passing out the routes that we're looking at for our Making Your Heart Beat. Making Your Heart Beat is kind of a threefold event. First is we're encouraging people from South Carolina, Georgia, and Tennessee to come and see what a wonderful place Franklin is and be a part of that. Second is to encourage people to be out, to walk a little bit, maybe run a little less, but to get out and be active. And third is the proceeds to this benefit those people who are either uninsured or uninsured if they've had a cardiac event to be able to have cardiac rehab and how important that is. Tom can attest to people who come in with a walker to get into cardiac rehab, and within the end of the session, they're walking a mile on the treadmill. So Tom can tell you how much we raised last year. And one of the reasons we're asking to have the extension closed is just for the safety of the runners. We're asking for an hour, but we really don't think it'll be an hour. We just did that. It was probably more like 20 minutes, actually. But Tom, if you could tell them some of the numbers that we have for cardiac rehab.
Sure. Well, approximately every year is a little different in how many participants that we have in the program. But probably on average, about 125 each year in combination of cardiac and pulmonary patients that come through our program. As Bonnie said, maybe some extremes of people coming in on walkers, but literally leaving after 3 months of participation with us are able to pretty much fend for themselves and continue their program, which is what our goal is, to train people so they will continue this for the rest of their life, a healthier life. The money that we raised last year has probably been, actually was not keeping specific numbers, but probably in the range of at least 25 people that literally would not have been able to attend. And these are the people that kind of fallen through the cracks. Maybe they still have access to charity care through Mission Hospital, but still can't afford even the gas money to come or the money to buy some healthier food choices that we try to promote and kind of get them started off on a healthier lifestyle. So it's really helped a lot of people at that level, and this is why this is so important to us.
Yes, sir.
Buddy, you said that about an hour.
Well, that's what I asked for, but we really don't think it'll be that long. It's more to be just for that wave as they come. It's more like 20 minutes, really. But we didn't want to just do 20 minutes just in case we have a real straggler. But
Okay, well, I had something about 5 minutes here.
well, that's more accurate, actually, as they come through that time. But I just did 9:30 to 10:30 because I didn't know what else to say. And we have Franklin PD who will be there as part of it. So it's really not a real long length of time. It's just enough time to get them through there. So it's closer to probably 10 minutes.
Yeah,
Would you say?
most of the people they'll come off of Riverview, it's sorry about the quality of that map, but they're coming off of Riverview onto Depot Extension and going up to almost the Village Trader, coming back. Then they get back on the Greenway for probably a half of a mile, and then there's just a short segment back on Depot Extension that they will then get on the sidewalk on Main Street and clearly be out of traffic. So it's probably all in all about a mile that the police have. We've had discussion with them, and they did this last year for us. We wanted to get your blessing, basically.
Chief, you talked to them, and
Yes.
we're good.
It went smooth last year.
Oh, okay, good. So this is the second. Okay. All right, I'll entertain a motion if we will close that at further request. Second. All in favor? Okay.
Thank you.
You got it, Ms. Frank.
We appreciate it.
Thank you all. Okay, another street closing request for 2018. Madam Manager.
Yes, Mr. Mayor and Council, what you have before you tonight in your agenda packet, and I do see our streets representative, Ms. Gwen Taylor, here. So if I do not say something on the list, please correct me. But the items that I have so far that I've heard from different organizations, and of course there may be more as we approach the year. The first one I have is the joint Easter sunrise service for Sunday, April 1st, and we're closing Iowa Street. We have airing of the quilts for Saturday, May the 12th, and that'd be Iowa Street. Picking on the Square, which we close Iowa Street, that'd be May 26th through October 13th. Our July 4th celebration, which would be Wednesday, July the 4th, we'd close Iowa Street. Public Safety Day for Saturday, July the 28th, we would close Iowa Street. Appalachian Heritage Festival would be Saturday, July the 14th, and they're looking to close Iowa Street, Phillips Street, and Main Street this year. Then, of course, we have Pumpkin Fest, the first night being Friday, October the 19th, where we would close Iowa Street from 5:30 to 6 p.m. October the 20th, and then close Main Street starting October the 20th at 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. We have our Veterans Day. It appears so far that the observed holiday this year will be Monday, November the 12th, and that would be Iowa Street. We're asking for that to be closed. And then 2 nights of Winter Wonderland, which would be the first night Saturday, November the 24th, and Saturday, December the 1st, and that would be Main Street, Phillips Street, and Iowa Street. And again, these are just requests we're aware of right now. Did we include everything?
Yes.
And there may be more that come throughout this year. This is just the list we have so far.
Okay, any discussion? If not, I'll entertain the motion that we adopt as presented by the manager with 3 closings.
I move that we adopt.
Okay, and you second? Second. All in favor? Okay. Budget amendments, Finance Officer, Ms. Foster, you have an item to present?
Yes, we have 3 budget amendments this month. The first budget amendment is budget number 29, and that's to appropriate the insurance settlement check for the Police Department in the amount of $1,990. The second one is number 31, and it's to appropriate the Shop with the Cop funds that we receive at the end of the year. And that's in the amount of $2,500 for the Police Department. And then in facilities, we have a refund check that we need to appropriate that we got back from CNA surety bonds with the change of the tax collector. We need to appropriate that so that we can pay the bond for the tax collector.
Is there any discussion from the board about any of the releases? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adopt, to approve. I have a motion. A second? Second. All in favor? All right, we have a minimum housing bid proposal. Mr. Setzer, you're up, sir.
Evening, Council and Mayor. Well, we've been working on for the past couple months on over a year on through the minimum housing violations we've been working on. One on Pauline Avenue and one on Hillcrest. We finally got to the point where we got default judgment on the properties for non-compliance, and we were able to appeal period ended, and we're able to submit bids to have these homes for good these structures. What I'm passing out is, first one was packet for the bids that were submitted and quotes for Pauline Avenue. The lowest bid's on top, and then the second one is the bids for the one on Hillcrest, with the lowest bid first as well.
Okay. Any questions from the board? Further discussion? Councilor, do you have anything that you want to do?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. For starters, this, just for the council's knowledge, it's not, demolition is not considered construction. In fact, it's the opposite. As long as you're not demolishing in order to start a construction project, you don't have to go through a normal, you're not even required to do any sort of bidding at all. You could just select a vendor and go with it. And we thought it'd be best, for, especially since this is our first go around with this, and to be able to say we've kind of opened this up to whoever in the community might be interested. Mr. Setzer reached out to several different interested parties. But
the one thing to consider, Mr. Mayor and Council, and Mr. Setzer can speak more on it as well, is the one parcel on Pauline Avenue, the bid that you have does not include the possibility to remove asbestos, correct?
Yes. Through the property owner, when he was working with him, he actually got a study done on it and found there is asbestos in it, and the bids, none of the bids, they don't have an exact quote of what it would be to remove the asbestos. Some of the estimates are upwards in the $8,000 range, so because it has to be a certified technician to do it, not just anybody can do it. So that could be an added cost for that one site.
So one thing maybe for Mayor and Council to consider with this particular parcel is the lowest bid on Pauline Avenue is for $6,000. but given we've done a little bit of internal research ourselves, you could be looking at a additional $8,500. So what legal and I, Mr. Henning and I spoke about is if we might could look at, instead of $6,000, add an additional $8,500. So the cap for Pauline Avenue would be $14,500. With council's blessing, since we're kind of shooting in the dark of exactly how much this removal process could be, if it does in fact turn true to have asbestos in it.
Do we have the study originally when he had done?
No, that was a different contractor that the property owner had, and they don't have it. I just, no figures from talking.
Okay, so we need to actually do the study just to confirm that it's in there.
Yeah, we had it in ourselves. I just know what they told us. You know, when they were still thinking about that, the property owner was in demolition himself, and then decided he wasn't going to do that.
And as a matter of contract, I'm drafting a contract for each of these. That, this contractor is going to assume all responsibility for all of it, with the knowledge that this is not town-owned property. We've had no control over it. We don't make any representations about what is or isn't in it. And they've been invited to this one we had some information that there had been, asbestos was part of the reason, but it didn't get fixed by the original owner. So we're also trying to sort of keep that at arm's length and say, you contractor are going to take care of all of this and form your own opinions about it. But I do agree. I think that the way to handle this would be for the board to just give an authorization to the manager to approve the lower bids on each of these contracts with up to $8,500 as needed for asbestos removal if appropriate, and to award the contract on that basis.
What happens to these properties when it's finished?
So the process from here, and I'm glad you mentioned that, we haven't talked about this in a while, but both state statute and the order that we have from Superior Court for both of these directs the town to cause the dwellings to be demolished, and that the cost of that is a lien against both of those properties. Both of them are owned outright, so there's no bank lien or anything in the way, and we get to collect against that lien in the manner of a special assessment, which is pretty good. It's not quite as good as a tax lien, but it's just a little bit below it. There's not much that can get in the way of it, in other words, from us pursuing a foreclosure against both of them. And we'll try to get it lined up and do it pretty quick, as quickly as possible. My estimate for that's still, probably June, July at the very best, but at least we'll have the property completely cleaned up, and they should be, pretty easily saleable, especially the one in Hillcrest is in the location.
So we should recoup this
Yes,
investment.
we should, and there's plenty of value in both of them to cover the cost of these.
On the Hillcrest, the one bid's substantially lower than the other, but there's actually 2 pages of the higher bid. The one that scribbles, one's for 23, one's for 25. Are those 2 separate things?
What he did there was, he did one if there's some vehicles on the property, and with our judgment, everything on the property is ours to remove. So he did one bid for if we got rid of the vehicles, and then one if he took them and sold them and got the money for us, while the ones a little lower.
Okay.
So.
And there is direction in state law that we're to preserve all the materials of the building and any personal property found on it to sell it as offset for our costs. So we have authority to go ahead and do that. And if we do it by means of contractor tell us what you think it's worth and take it off the bill, that works too. So I think that's what we're trying to do.
Move forward. Any further questions? If not, then I'll entertain a motion that we accept the bids with the caveat that you put on it of the $8,500.
And if this funding could be moved from the town board's contingency.
Okay.
And we're voting on accepting the lower of the bids in each case.
Anybody want to make a motion?
Sure, I'll move.
Okay, second. All in favor?
An exciting day.
Yeah, they're going to be
a long time.
static.
Okay, update on the North Carolina DOT bicycle helmet grant. Mr. Setzer, how's
Yeah.
your program going here, sir?
Yeah, partnered with, actually with East Franklin Elementary, helped them work with writing a grant for bicycle helmets for the 4th grade class. And in this grant was applying, there was no money or anything. It was actually writing the grant for East Franklin School. I was experiencing grant writing, this has been a minute. And of course, we applied, and East Franklin was awarded 65 helmets, bicycle helmets for the 4th grade class that would be distributed through like a bicycle rodeo during the week of bicycle, like walk to school, bike to school week. So it'll be a rodeo with teaching kids about proper techniques and etiquette and how to ride and how to be safe and how to cross roads and so on. So this was supported by the school board, Franklin PD is going to assist with it as well. So it's just we've got a press release that we'll give to the media just to make aware of this grant was awarded for East Franklin.
That's great. Good work. Excellent. Okay, we don't need a motion on that. It's information only.
Yeah.
But be sure and let us know when those helmets come in and we start distributing them.
Yeah, I expect them in April and hope to have them in
That's just great. That is great. All right. Also, Mr. Setzer, you and Chief Adams are up for the letter of support for the Watch Me program.
Yeah, what we're asking for tonight is a letter of support to apply for the Watch For Me program. That's also at the North Carolina, it's a statewide safety education and enforcement program through NCDOT. It's no cost to apply. What happens with this is actually in your packet. You should have in your agenda packet seen some section from our bicycle and pedestrian plan as a recommendation that town enter in this program. And in this program, of course, it's an education program, thing for people that walk, crosswalks, sidewalks, people that ride bicycles, to just bring awareness to pedestrian safety. If we get apply and get accepted, our county gets accepted, law enforcement gets training, goes some training. I think it's about a 1-day training course. Law enforcement then, if they are accepted, they can receive points from the Governor's Highway Safety Program, which they can then use that points to buy radars and vests. There's a lot of different equipment, cones. They're in the program now, receiving points. But with it, you can get everything from transit ads, like ads you can see in the transit buses. It shows, proper etiquette, stopping at traffic, crosswalks, outdoor ads, billboards, signage, bike lights, printed material to hand out, and then other types of media. Some of the things that comes out of this is if law enforcement ever writes a ticket for somebody that does something, when it comes to pedestrian safety, the tickets are more often upheld in the court system because the court then sees that the police department or law enforcement agency is in this program, so they're aware of the law. They're not just, so you're seeing tickets upheld more, and you get stronger relations with the schools as well. It goes along with our stuff like our bicycle helmet programs and walk to school days as well. So I'm asking if we can allow myself to write a support letter to send in the application and see if we can get accepted in the program.
Any questions of Mr. Setzer? If not, I'll entertain a motion to allow him to go ahead and he and the chief to write a letter of support.
I'll make that motion because me and my son walked through town today, and when people see you walking, they think like your car's broke down here. I mean, it's such a weird culture here. Like nobody thinks of people like walking around's not normal, and I'd like to make it normal for people to walk through the town and ride bikes through the town, so I encourage it. I'll make the motion. I support it fully.
And you wonder what a bunch of idiots honking at you?
Yeah. That happens too, yeah.
Second, my family makes fun of me and calls me a tourist because we walk around.
There you go.
All right, all in favor? Okay, the next is a proposed North Carolina Department of Transportation improvements on US 441, Georgia Road from Wide Horizon to Belden Circle. Mr. Moore, I believe you will present, sir.
Mr. Mayor, Council, what you have in front of you with the map is for a betterment on the R5734A US 441 project, congestion management down the Georgia Road. What we are looking to do is replace a piece of infrastructure across the Carthage Creek at that section. That line is actually not in the scope of the work that the project is going to encompass. So what that would be a betterment on our half to invest in the infrastructure for that growing corridor of roadway there. The project will be a reimbursable agreement, so basically once the work is complete, NCDOT will then bill us for the actual amount of work is bid out and cost. And we have an estimate from NCDOT. Typically that estimate will be lower and we will get the money back that it does not cost for that. The project let date is June 2018 and they have an estimated completion date of August 2020. So once the work is complete, we would pay somewhere between, after the work's complete, in August 2020 for that reimbursable agreement.
And if I may,
Yes, please,
Mayor and Council, what we're asking for tonight is just for the board to approve this reimbursable agreement. We would budget for it in our upcoming budget, probably under our capital outlay improvements and that in our water lines, up to about $82,000. But tonight it's just for us to be able to do this project. I think it's a great idea. We would probably need to look at replacing this water line in the next 5 to 10 years. And if we were to do that on our own, we'd have to secure our own permits, which that can be a nightmare if you're doing any type of creek distribution or just disturbing. And you're probably looking at around $200,000 versus having the state come in, take it on as a betterment, and our cost would be about $82,000. So tonight, we're not asking for a commitment or funding, just to be able to accept this agreement, and then administration and finance will budget for this accordingly in our upcoming budget process.
And then they always have a betterment contract.
Yes. Yeah, we would sign a reimbursable agreement to say that whatever the project is at that point, we will pay the difference back.
Go ahead, sorry.
Is this the bridge on Roanoke?
This will be right up from the new Eagles right there, that bridge. So they're actually not doing anything in that section of roadway. North of that, the pipe is actually in the road and they're moving it up the bank, so that section will be new with a 12-inch water line. The section below that we have replaced with 12, so we have one bottleneck section. That is the problem with that section is the pipe's actually in the river, and that is a trout stream, so you get into a lot of EPA concerns if we were to take this project on ourselves, and we couldn't do it for as cheap as what while the contractor's in there to get it done.
Right. Is there any way while they're down there working with machinery like that they could make it walkable under that bridge? I mean, you can kind of walk right now, but if they could, because I think there's maybe a future idea to get a path going from the rec park under that bridge. So we can encourage DOT to make that walkable?
When we do, the plans are at 95%, and that's why I brought that to you tonight, where they can do final plans, and we will have one last meeting with DOT to finalize some items. And I'll definitely bring that up to them, and we'll see what we can do.
So if we can get a walking path, get people under there, it may help with keeping people from living under there as well.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, any further questions from the board? If not, I'll call for a vote that we accept it as proposed by Mr. Moore.
Motion move forward.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Okay. All right.
Thank you, Daniel.
Madam Manager, you wanted to speak to the discussion on the Town of Franklin movie nights.
Yes, fun.
Absolutely.
Mr. Mayor and Council, what we have before us tonight, we started this venture back last fall. We had 2 successful movie nights. Unfortunately, the first movie night here at Town Hall had some rain involved. But I did attend the second movie night, and it was amazing to see all the different families downtown. I know some of our board members attended as well. So what we're asking tonight, I did reach out back to Ruby Cinemas to see if it'd be something they'd be interested in continuing. We looked at maybe continuing the first Friday night of each month, starting in May through October, one movie a month. The cost to do that each month would be $500. So what we're looking at asking for tonight, if this was something the board would like to pursue for this current budget, we would have a movie for the month of May and the month of June. If the board would like to do that, the total cost for both months would be $1,000. We need to look at taking that from a line item within our existing budget. But moving forward, as we go through the budget process for this upcoming year, we can budget that into our festivals and events line item if that seems to be what the board desires. So just kind of want some feedback from the board tonight, if that's something you would like to pursue at least for the next 2 months in May and June.
Mr. McMahon, you seem to have enjoyed that tremendously last year.
My family enjoyed it very much, and I think a lot of other families did as well. I think it's a great service we can provide to people in town, especially those with young children. It's an awesome event, brings people out on Main Street and into town, and gets people walking around. I thought it was fantastic.
We have much more room this week.
Yeah.
All right, any further discussion, questions? Yes, Mr. Culpepper.
I think it's a great idea. In the future, could we ask local people to sponsor it or something like that too? I mean, I know Ruby Cities is the sponsor. Do they object to somebody else's name being on it?
They don't. We looked at this when we first started this venture. The only thing you have to be considered about is when you have other sponsors that limit your control on what movie that you would be showing. That's the only, it kind of takes the town a little chunk out of it, if you will.
Fair enough.
Okay. Any further discussion, questions? Any adjournments? There appearing to be none. It's been a long day. Okay, I'll call for a motion to approve the Friday night movie night.
May and June, $1,000.
Okay.
Out of contingency by chance.
Okay. All right, second? All in favor? Great.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Kinsey, I understand you wanted to talk about alcohol at events.
Yeah, I just wanted to open up a brief dialogue. We do have a lot of town events, and I'm speaking to public, private, and potential partnership events. I've had different citizens approach and are interested from Jimbo Ledford. He's going to have some events in the future, I think over the next year or two, that the outside potentially could be on town property. We also have avenues such as Memorial Park, which is picking on the square. And I've seen many different small events where I see alcohol that is consumed regardless of what our city law already is. So I've just kind of looked at some different events that I've seen in Silva and Waynesville. They've opened up, especially Silva is the most similar event I've seen, where they have a very similar weekly music event outdoors in their park. And they allow a beer vendor, it's a local craft brewery to come in and sell beer by the glass. I don't know enough personally on my own to speak to the legalities, the risk concerns. I didn't know if we, as a board, would be interested. If anybody has any other dialogue, please open up. But maybe to ask town management to reach out to Silva and Waynesville and ask them kind of what their wins and losses have been on that, what their risk management has been on that, and if they have any advice or anything that they can recommend for us to kind of look at that as a potential avenue.
Now, when you're talking about town property, you're talking about town-owned property.
Potentially town-owned property where somebody either could have rented it for an event and wants to request a special visit. I'm not necessarily asking to be. I don't want to open up alcohol drinking on town property all the time. It's just for certain events, things like picking on the square, and they'll have to be roped off and adhere to AEC and regulation. But we've already had things like Lazy Hiker do a similar thing. I don't remember which event it was last year, but they used.
They did a few on private property.
Yeah. So it's basically the idea of maybe we be open up to the idea of working with organizations and entities like Lazy Hiker or Kuragi to do events like that with us instead of making them push off the private.
Well, like on Picking on the Square, you talking about roping off a place and selling alcohol?
I'm not suggesting anything. Okay. I'm opening up the dialogue. I'm saying there's a lot of different, I said Sylvan and Wayne's have both have totally separate, different style events. Clayton's another example that's been brought up, but due to their ABC regulation being different out of state, I don't see them being as good of an example as Silver Oaks going to be for either what our potential wins could be out of that, or maybe what our risk could be.
Do we have a policy against it?
Yes. So there's an ordinance, it's 130.01 that we amended already that said to permit. Generally, it used to say, no person shall consume all beverages or unfortified wine. Always been sort of curious why it doesn't mention liquor. But so stick to the hard stuff. On property owned or occupied by the town, and says including but not limited to public streets, boulevards, alleys, rights of way, sidewalks, and parks. And we amended that a few years back because we recognized we're leasing a piece of property to lazy hikers, and they have to have some relief from that ordinance. I guess what I'm not familiar enough with to know how it impacts it is we've never gone as far as actually researching for open up public space like a sidewalk to consumption is whether open container. I don't know whether you just can have a general exception to it if there's the local authority makes an exception. I mean, evidently it happens. So we can certainly look into that. I don't know off the top of my head how it works.
So you're saying even if we change our ordinance, there may be a state ordinance that supersedes it?
I think generally speaking, going out in the public with an open container is not lawful.
But somebody mentioned a beer garden. If there was a beer garden set up somewhere that was a contained area.
Chief can probably answer that better than, isn't it
The state law is specific to roadways and that nature.
To have an open container.
Right, open containers. But if they're on private property, it's a little bit different. But our town ordinance addresses private property, unless it's a special event. Such as Lazy Hikers set up across from the church this past fall.
Right.
They're on a license.
So sidewalks is included.
Breweries are different than other alcohol establishments, so they have a little more leeway.
Councilor, I kind of have an issue, not an issue, a question here too. I think we're going to have to break this down to whether this is a town-sponsored event or whether it's an event sponsored by private enterprise. I think therein lies the real crux of the problem. I don't think there's much we can do if it's private enterprise now. However, town-sponsored events such as Pumpkin Fest, those type of things, Picking on the Square, I think that needs to really be looked at closely. There's nothing to keep a private enterprise from on those nights selling alcohol at their establishments. It's just that I don't think you can bring it up to Picking on the Square.
I can speak. You can have an alcoholic beverage outside of even the establishment if it's an event that's been contacted with the ALE and ABC, but it has to be on private property, privately owned, commercial or residential property. As soon as you step on the town property, another ordinance that comes through.
So, what you're thinking about, I guess, if somebody's having like a festival at Memorial Park, and they wanted just for that occasion to have alcohol, is that what you're thinking?
Yes. If they request that for their event, and then, like I said, it's going to depend on whether it's private or public as to whether it's sure entirely how the risk management is assessed. That's what
Oh, yeah, I mean, look, I like a good party as much as a Mexican, I really do, but, I worry about doing that there's obviously some risk in having it on town property. You've got Memorial Park and water right there, and just, But so I think it's worth looking into. Certainly look at what
reach out to some
those other towns have done. And
Silva's concerts on the creek. Do they consume at the concerts on the creek?
They do.
Is it in a confined area?
It is in a confined area. It's still roped off. I mean, the park is sort of confined on its own. It's easy to confine on. But I know I've been there personally. I think innovation, Brady's been there before. I know Highland Watch has been there in the past as well.
Do you have any time, kind of a challenge, a time constraint right now? Have you got something in mind that's coming up soon or anything?
No, I just want to get the dialogue.
Okay.
Mainly wanted to see if we can ask the town management to talk with Silva, or probably also Waynesville, since I know they also have wine walks down the street, which they would be on roadways, so I'm not sure how they deal with that.
Well, I'm going to be with a bunch of managers and mayors and board members from across the state Wednesday. I will start that conversation. I'll bring you back something. I don't know what it'll be, but I'll sure bring it back. So I do know that other towns have wrestled with this because I've heard talk of it. So, and I think that the concern has always been on public property, not private property. So, anybody else got anything they want to say, Mr. Kinsey? Questions? Okay, I will take that under, and if you would also as a board member do a little checking around, see what the public perception of it would be. Okay, Counselor, I think we have a couple of legal questions.
We do, Mr. Mayor. The first one, you have in front of you a printed copy of a boundary line agreement. And actually, there is another document behind that that's a deed of easement, and all of it is best explained by the last page is a plat that shows the property up here next to Town Hall property. The building that's currently owned by Bernard Inns of North Carolina is where the Root and Barrel is located. That property is under contract and about to change hands. And doing survey work for it, they found that the western wall of that building is just a little bit over the property line. I think, and I have a fuzzy memory of what the buildings were like through here years and years ago before this building was here. What I'm told is that was an interior wall, that when whatever was on this property was taken down, that had been an inside wall. I have been operating under the assumption, I guess everybody else has too, that we were sort of at a zero lot line with that property, and it was that, at least the wall was on their property. It turns out just by some, less than a foot, I think, it is over the line. They also have there's a pilaster out there that's in the little D diamonds along the sidewalk. What they have asked for is that the town consider a boundary line agreement that'll say the line is across the wall, so I don't think we want to own the wall. It also has been there for a heck of a long time, probably has been adversely possessed by now. What they're offering in exchange, if we will agree to these two agreements, the boundary line and to receive an easement, is we'll change the boundary line along the wall, and in exchange we receive, if you look at the very top of that page, a 25-foot wide easement that runs to connect to Church Street. And I'm told, and don't have any reason to disbelieve, that it's never been clear that Church Street, if you look on the tax map, it just kind of ends up there. It's not clear where or why. So this would clarify our ability to use that to get in and out of this property where necessary. What I've asked them to do for now is to describe it as an offer of dedication that the town could take and make into a public street if we ever wanted to. We felt the need to, but it's not for now. So that it's clear it's an easement that can be used as an appurtenance of this property. It benefits this property, but it's not a public street that's expected to be maintained unless we decide it needs to be, in which case we've got some more talking to do. But that's what those do, and if it suits the board, we would just authorize the mayor to sign those and approve those agreements and authorize the mayor to execute on behalf of the town. I'm happy to answer any questions you have.
I do now. Right now, the public is not, when we have these parades and all, generally what they do, they use that, they come down through there, come through the gate, and they form up here. Okay. How would If we don't sign this agreement, can they close that off since it's been there for years and years and years and it's never been closed?
Yes, potentially. I mean, it's never been, and I haven't title searched this. I don't know for certain that there's no dedicated road right of way for Church Street that runs down along there. But I don't know of one either, and it wouldn't surprise me a bit that it had never been formally mapped out in a way that said Church Street ends here and this is private property and it doesn't connect to this property. I mean, again, all of that, including this property, was all under rural ownership, and then something before that. I'm not sure who before that. So they may have treated it just like a cart path to Church Street, or nobody ever did anything formal with it at all.
But it never was really an issue because it didn't connect around like it does now.
That's true. It may not have had any use at all.
Right. There's no real reason to. I think it's a win-win.
We're giving them wall they already own for an easement that we don't have.
They're making a friend on the way.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question. If we agree to that, what does that do to our little access road here? Are they then going to say that that's a public street?
No, sir. That's what I'm saying. We have specified in it that it's an easement. We're getting an easement that connects up to Church Street. We're not promising to dedicate that for a public right-of-way at all.
Okay.
Right. But we haven't wanted to.
Unless you decide.
It just gives us the.
In which case you have the ability.
So that little strip that provides access to their back parking lot.
Yes.
And there's some parking on that other side.
Yes.
So what happens to it?
Well, we don't have anything to do with it. My understanding is that the parties that will be in ownership at that point are going to enter into a shared maintenance agreement for the parking, a shared parking agreement. But I mean, the property that shouldn't affect our town's property.
But we don't know if that corridor is really there or not. It just says it's a proposed access.
Well, I think it's proposed in the sense that it's about to become real and of record.
How far does the Jones property come over this corridor?
We miss it by, if you see where that loading dock is.
I do see that, yes,
That
sir.
is about the northern boundary of the Jones property back here. So the way this easement is drawn, it's about maybe 5 feet north of where that property line is and avoids it. So it doesn't implicate the Jones property.
Okay.
I also mean the easement wouldn't prevent them from accessing their own parking.
No, I mean, it's an easement that they still get to use.
They still get to use it.
Yeah, it's not an exclusive easement for the town.
They still own the property. We're just allowed to go over it.
Correct. Yes, it's not exclusive. They still get to use it. It's basically their property, and the town's not expected to do anything with it at all.
We just have it.
They have given an offer of dedication that we haven't acted on yet. We could have seen.
But no maintenance.
But no
Because it would never qualify for Fountville.
Because it's all connected to the rest of the park.
Okay, for all civic events, I know that's where the Chamber of Commerce brings the parade through the lineup. We do the same thing at the Vietnam Veterans Day. Can we word it in any way that will always be open for public events that serve a public purpose?
It's never been clear on any record anywhere that we had the ability to do what we have been doing in terms of lining it up. Agreeing to this agreement makes it clear that we can use it for that purpose.
Okay. But it does not affect our access road for our employee parking?
No, sir.
Sign the papers.
Well, let's have a motion first.
That's the motion.
I have a motion. Can I finish in a second? Have a motion that we're allowing the mayor to sign this agreement as per the town's council, and Mr. Collins has a motion on the floor to allow this signing. Is that what you're asking for? And Ms. McRae seconds it. Any further discussion?
You wrote this, right, John?
Actually, Orville Coward did, but yeah, we worked together on it.
And we will have an opportunity to see the final agreement before it's signed.
This is it. And I've vetted it. It's good to go.
Okay. All right, we have a motion on the floor, seconded, all in favor? Okay. Carries. The next item is discussion of Town of Franklin Comprehensive Plan. Councilor, you want, and Mr. Setzer, you wanted to speak to that, sir?
I'll get started, Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
As we discussed some at the retreat the other day, there is an increasing sort of flavor in the law that assumes in terms of your land use zoning that you're going to have a comprehensive land use plan, and meaning a designated plan, not something that we sort of infer from several different sources. Which again, I'd say is a legally sufficient plan. I'm more comfortable if we can get to the point of having a designated land use plan. That's the sort of bare bones legal reason to do it. It actually has lots and lots of benefits as a planning authority for the town, both in terms of what present uses are go where and where uses are going to go in the future. So I don't know if Justin's had a chance to sort of look into what are your thoughts on it, Justin?
I think it's very much needed. It's been needed for a long time in Franklin. I mean, it's, like I said, it's a planning tool from everything from obviously land use when it comes to rezonings or text amendments, but everything also from wants to tackle housing and jobs and transportation and, you know, a lot of different areas for the next 20, 30 years, however long the plan is looking at. I passed out the general statute. This is the changes that the legislature passed this past October, so it's very fresh. The top one is, you kind of ignore, that's if you have, it's for the counties. The second one is for towns, the 160. So it's, if this is something the board wants to do, it would be, my suggestion would be to submit an RFP, a request proposal, out on website listservs and have the consulting firms then submit, you know, our RFP would describe what we want and then they could submit proposals to us.
As I described the other day, I think what we would be looking at is a good year or 2 year long process of public input, charrettes, and that sort of thing, much in the same way we did the principles of growth years back. It would be that same sort of process to arrive at what should be a whole community buy-in of a land use plan.
So we will be sending this, basically what we're talking about is sending it to the planning board. Getting ball rolling.
I think for starters, it's going to take the approval of the council to say we're comfortable spending. That's the price tag is what we'll have to get to first, okay. and agree to a process. As the proposals are set out what the process is. So it would come back here first.
And if I may, Mr. Mayor,
Sure.
Council, kind of what our hopes were on this, just to kind of take the temperature of the board. Felt like we did that very good at the retreat, and to see if this is something we're interested in as we're approaching budget season. This would give administration and land use ample opportunity to seek proposals, kind of see what figures we're looking at, so we could then include that in your budget process and let the council vote if that's something you want to go down the road with.
I have a question. Does the county have a comprehensive plan?
Yes. They're actually in the process of.
Okay. Would it behoove us to talk to whoever did their plan since they're familiar with the area?
County did theirs in-house.
Okay.
But theirs is quite a bit different because it's not in view of any zoning.
Okay.
As Justin mentioned the other day, that a comprehensive land use plan can go a lot further than just why do we make the zoning decisions that we make. That's one of the main reasons that I want the town to adopt it. And one of the main reasons you legally need it is because then it says every time you make a zoning amendment or change, this is why we did it, this is why it fits in with where we see the town heading. I don't know how applicable what the county has is to what we need it for.
So we could also focus what I was talking about at the retreat, a goal of getting power lines buried during big projects. That's the kind of stuff that can go in a comprehensive plan?
Yes. Yeah, but I'll mention some more about that just a minute.
Okay.
Yeah. it definitely is a land use regulation that.
And if we vote to go forward with this, are we voting for funding for it? Because we don't know how much it's going to be.
We'll bring back just proposals from some consultants who do,
It's just permission to put out feelers and see who wants to do a comprehensive plan for us.
Okay. Counselor, you got a motion for us to
just to authorize staff to proceed with their request for proposals for comprehensive plan.
Do I hear such a motion?
I'll motion that.
Second. All in favor? Okay. Okay, the next item is to set a public hearing for telecommunications ordinance. Counselor, you're back up, sir.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. Just very briefly, as the board, the council is aware, last month we had a little discussion about the small cell wireless that's headed our way. We've got a draft ordinance, a more fleshed out one than the council's seen yet before the planning board. I want to do that with all due speed, but not too much. There was just too much to work through to get that done in one planning board meeting. So they have it. They have got it on their agenda for their March meeting, and I want to get that back to the board for potential action at your April meeting. What I also want to mention, and I'd like you to, when you set this public hearing, to ask you to set it for the telecommunications ordinance and potential UDO amendment, because I want to look at utility undergrounding as I think we can address it now. There's nothing wrong with the UDO or a need for the comprehensive land use plan to happen before we can add that sort of requirement in, I think. So I don't want to leave that aside because, like I said, it's important to do it now before we have a small cell wireless application where they want to have overhead wires and that kind of thing. So if it's possible, and the only way to get that before you in time to have it as a piece of telecommunications that you can consider at the same time is to go ahead and schedule that as part of your hearing for next month. I'll work out an ordinance amendment that does that with the planning board. So all I'm asking for is your April 2nd meeting at 6:05 to schedule a public hearing for telecommunications ordinance and potentially UDO amendments.
I move that we set that hearing. Second.
Second. Okay.
6:05?
6:05, yes. Okay, motion's been made and
Sorry,
seconded.
Mr. Mayor, there's a question over here.
No, I was ready to.
Oh, you voted? Okay.
All right, we're gonna try it again. All in favor? Okay. All right, let's go around the table real quick before we get into.
Mr. Mayor, one other
I'm
item
sorry.
on the legal, real briefly.
Okay.
The town will recall Mr. Craig's presentation about Ray's Chapel at the retreat. And I mentioned to him, I would just feel more comfortable to move ahead and look at drafting a deed and get that property into town ownership and then look at where it's ultimately going to land if it's the will of the council to go ahead and do it. So if it is, and we can discuss it more if we need to, but if everybody recalls what it is and why we're interested, all I would need is just a motion from the board to draft appropriate documents and get them executed.
I think we had a very good presentation on what it is. I think the board is familiar with it and everything. So would someone like to make that a motion that, okay. Mr. Gray makes the motion. Is there a second? Okay, any further discussion? All in favor? Okay. All right, let's go around the table real brief. Mr. Kent, do you have anything else you'd like to bring up, sir? Mr. McMahon? Okay, Mr. Craig?
I think I talked myself out.
Okay, all right.
I will make one comment. I just wanted to say at the retreat, I had mentioned kind of an update thing about the opioid epidemic and substance abuse issues in the town and county. I think I didn't really make myself clear on one note that I would just like the town council members, I didn't really expect an answer on at the retreat to just put it in the forefront of their mind where they see the town falling into some things that might be happening.
Sure. Well, just for your information, I know that one of the top 3 things that the League of Municipalities is working on this year is the opioid crisis statewide. And I know the County Commissioners Association is doing the same thing. So I think that it's the will of the board that we're going to be very concerned about this. And I would like to kind
And
of head that up.
that's one of the things when I was talking about a meeting that was going to be coming up.
Yeah.
It was ideas. That's what it was. Like from beginning to end, things that people were trying to bring to the table. So if anyone had any ideas about how they felt with that, I'd be glad to take that to that meeting.
Would you please? Yes. Thank you. Okay. Ms. Culpepper?
Yes, my son Ledger, who's 8, and I walked today from Memorial Park the entire length of Crawford Branch to the Greenway. We met some interesting people along the way. That in the bike walk plan, the Crawford Branch Greenway ranks fairly high. And walking it today, I think it's feasible. I talked to one landowner who I ran into today, who owns a substantial part of it, who really likes the idea. Can you give me some guidance on how I can try to advance a project such as that? Should I just start talking to landowners and see if there's an interest?
Why don't you sketch out and give us a map of what you've got in mind, and let's kind of proceed from there. I'm not really sure I'm following you because I've never hiked the length of the Crawford Branch. And let's see if you could come up with who the property owners and all are. I think that's kind of how you did it with the Greenway.
Okay.
And just see what we've got to work with.
Okay.
Take it from there.
Okay.
See what we might do.
Is it mostly roadway?
No, it's going to be quite a bit. I mean, through Frogtown is obviously, there's not too much roadway through there. Getting from Crawford Branch at the park across Ingalls and over to Heritage Hollow is obviously parking lot and road. We don't want to walk through the culvert like Barbara and I have done.
I still don't believe that, but anyhow. What about as it goes through Heritage Hollow, is that one of the places you're talking about? I'm trying to get oriented.
That would go through Heritage Hollow and then connect to the old drive-in property that we talked about extensively. Then I believe it's Drake Holdings owns a substantial part going through Frogtown. And there you're starting to flirt with city sidewalks, being able to connect them via some decently safe crosswalks to get all the way to the Greenway. But I walked it today, had a really good time.
I'm going to talk to Dr. Tom Harris. He sketched out a lot of that. He really liked the idea of a Greenway that went that way. And it goes through some of his property.
There's some very detailed maps from FEMA that I think we're incorporating. Okay, sounds good.
Thank you.
Mr. Collins?
I want us to not forget to try to remember as we go. I want to get a couple of charging stations for electric cars. I pulled in tonight and I saw where we have 2 big stub outs. We got a lot of juice on that side. It doesn't seem like it'd be a huge stretch, but they're coming. There's electric cars more. We want to buy them, John. Yeah.
Well, I have not given up on the thought of exploring whether we've got a viable project for solar out at the old landfill property. Mm-hmm. Duke Energy wasn't a good partner, wasn't a good fit for them the way it was in some other areas. But the thing has changed. There's some incentives to development of that kind of project that weren't in existence then. And I don't know if necessarily we need them to develop a project that we might get a bite of somebody who's interested in developing it, and including in it those kind of amenities as part of the project. So still I really do.
Talking about the power at the end of the parking lot right here?
Yeah, I'm just saying that might be a good place to have a couple of plug-ins.
I know that the new English has 4. And I haven't seen anybody in it yet.
Well, but you know it's coming.
But
you build it.
Highlands has to build some for the Teslas.
And then Clayton's got some in town hall.
We have reached out, if I may, Council Mayor, we have reached out to Duke Energy because there was some grant funding probably about 8 or 9 months ago. And the startup grant, the town's contribution is a minimum of $10,000. We also did reach out to Silva, and Silva secured one, but the startup to do one is $10,000, and Duke would look at trying to assist with the rest.
Okay, anything else? I have one observation to make, and that is the northbound hikers are here. They're everywhere right now. So I think that we're going to have a good year with the northbound hikers. If this is any indication this early, let's just hope we don't get a blizzard between now and then. Anyone else? All right, if not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Very good meeting. So are you making a motion or just signing?
Signing. I'll second his motion.
Okay, have a second. All in favor? We're standing.
Yes.